Tax reform bills, its importance and its impact on the economy. Hello and welcome to the Africa program that showcases the economic, political and individual issues on Click Naija, an online channel. My name is Nasir Yunusa. Joining us today is Mr. Paul Alelumhe, a public policy expert. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure to be here. Good morning.
Follow us on our social media handle for X and Instagram at Click Naija 1 and for Facebook and YouTube at Click Naija, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel now. Tax reforms aims to overhaul the country's tax collection and administration system, presenting an opportunity to create equitable and efficient taxation model for Nigeria's economy at this time.
Well, generally, tax, as it is being defined, is a source of revenue to government. It's just like what salary is to worker or an employee. That is what tax is to government. It's a major source of income to every government. So tax is an economic instrument for development that must be managed by government. So it is important.
It's an economic instrument that must be managed by government, so it's very important.
Yeah.
So why are these reforms considered so important for a country's economy now?
For increment, minimum wage, that is what it is for taxes when it comes to government. So government wants more tax so that they can, meet up with the obligations of development, of securing life and the well-being of the people. So, like I said earlier, tax is a source of income or revenue to government. So whatever it is that government will do to ensure there's free flow of income or revenue as tax, the government of the day will do everything possible to ensure that there's money collected, tax collected from everyone.
Okay. Now, how will the tax reform benefits the economy? Because you've told us how it's an instrument. It's just like important as how salary is important to the worker. So that's how tax reforms is important to the government. Yeah. So how will the tax reform benefit the economy?
Yes, if all things being equal, like an economy will always, this will never be equal. If government actually gets the revenue,
yes,
and they are used judiciously the way it ought to, then tax reform generally will benefit the people as much as it benefits the government. Okay. Like the loose definition of government, we will say that everyone is part of government.
Yeah.
But the policymakers or those who are the influencers, those who are in power, so those are what we remotely call the government. Those are the people, those are the policymakers, the driver. So, but generally, tax, or what you call, anytime we use the word tax, it translates to money. Yeah. So you ask, what will money do for the economy? So ordinarily, tax, without tax, no government can survive. Generally, forget this part of our client where we have natural resources, and that is why we are having problem with tax in Africa, particularly in Nigeria. But elsewhere, if you go to a place like UK, US, tax is the order of the day. That's where government get there.
UK.
Yes,
so living in UK, they will tell you tax.
So tax, but you see, before the advent of natural resources, the major source of income to government was tax. This is your tax. Okay. So there's nothing wrong about reform.
Now, if the reforms are supposed to be beneficial, like you've said, then why are there so much agitations and opposition to these people? Now, will it be as a result of misconceptions? Because we've seen governors come out fighting against it. In fact, some group of governors, I don't want to call the names of any group, came out against it. Now, what are some of the challenges government will face when implementing these reforms?
You see, the government did not do a lot of consultation, a lot of enlightenment and, discussion. You see, when we talk about democracy, it's about consensus building. You don't just throw something on people and you accept them you just think they will accept it. You see, the opposition from the government or the government in some part of the country is simply because of one item, the VAT.
Yes.
If you go down, if you have ever seen the documents, about 230-something pages, then the VAT aspect of which is the third bit on it. You see, in VAT, if you have ever done anything with VAT, you see, it has just three strata. One, the quality, then population, and the derivation or the derivative this thing. So now what the old this thing was 20, 30, 20 before. So now they change it derivation. What I mean by derivation now, where the goods or is being consumed,
Okay.
they are now taking the larger part of it, which is 60%.
Okay.
Population will now get 20.
20%.
Yes, 20%. Equality will now get 20%, making it 100%.
So the 60% for the government.
No, it's not for the government. It's for the state where those goods are being consumed.
Okay.
For instance, let me give you a typical example that will be clear to everybody.
Okay.
You see, there have been an argument that in some part of the country they don't consume alcohol.
Yes.
Now, because of by virtue of population, they got more than those states where alcohol is being consumed. So that is part of it that the government has reordered, has re-engineered by inviting that 30%, 60% now come from derivation. I'll give you an instance. Kaduna State generates 2.3 billion and collect the state. I'm giving you what it is from VAT.
From VAT.
And take from VAT 7.8. What it simply means, there is a state somewhere there is some change. So that is why you see the resistance. I did not expect that they were not going to resist it. If I was getting 10 billion from VAT and the governor, then with this reform, I will get 5. You think I will sit down? That is the truth. So please, people resistant to change.
Let me, before we go to the resistance to change, like Kaduna, you said, the VAT is 7.6. It means
Yes.
If the VAT is, if the reforms is introduced, it will get less.
Likely, because if you generate 2.6 or 2.7,
Yes. Is
then
it
you get
on a monthly basis?
yes, on a monthly basis. We had a lot of money coming from VAT.
No.
A lot.
My concern is a state like Lagos,
Yes.
which have a lot of VAT. Will it also affect Lagos? Will Lagos be subchanged?
Not really. They will get more. For instance,
Okay.
Lagos generate over 200 something.
Billion.
Yes.
So
Of
with
VAT.
the VAT reform,
Now, what they got is about 100 something. Because yes, Lagos in terms of population, yes,
Yeah,
is there. In terms of quality of the, but the derivation will now substitute them, but they get 20% of what they
subject them.
consume. Yes, and that is why you
Now
see
go to
states like
federal.
Kano and others get higher, likely.
Okay.
But with this reform, you see smaller states you consider in the south, like Oshu,
Yes.
they will get more than larger states in the north.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Osun is
60%, yes, 60% of derivation is huge. Okay, I can also give you an instance of another state like Naija. Naija generated 1.7 billion
Okay.
monthly from VAT, but they got over 4.something billion.
From the VAT.
Yes.
But the reforms, have they been introduced?
The reforms have been introduced, but the bill has not been passed or has not been accepted by the
So-
president. The National Assembly has not even. So we are still with the sharing formula is still based on the old order.
Okay.
Until those reforms are completed or concluded, then and then the president has said to the bill,
Okay.
they become an act. We now have 2024-2025 Tax Reform Act. That is when it will take effect from. So it's still in the parliament, it's still in the National Assembly. I think they have gone through second reading, third reading, so we expect
It to be passed.
yeah, by this first quarter.
Now, when you were talking, you said something about the VAT seems to be the issue in this voting. Now,
Yes.
if it's a major issue, why is this such a contentious point about VAT?
Yes, the VAT is a major issue to those who are in authority, those who are in government, those who are to manage resources on behalf of us. For instance, if you are a governor of Naija State or Nasarawa, Nasarawa, you generate 2.something from VAT and you get 5.something billion.
Yes.
Will you sit and say, okay, the reform should go? Because they know that will deprive them of income.
So now, I heard you saying things like the government is not doing enough to sensitize people. So now, what do you think the FG is not doing right or getting right in the process of introducing these tax reforms?
When that committee was inaugurated or set up, the first thing the government would have done, you see, the government has a lot of resources to reach out to anybody.
Yes.
Like this, your media now. It's a powerful medium for government to reach out to many Nigerians, whether you are in Nigeria or you are in abroad. But government didn't do that at the level of conception until the bill was presented when there is now resistance. I think this is the fifth, polling I'm speaking on. I've been to so many radio and television to speak, but before that,
you said that the bill was presented. And it is when resistance came up that the government now took the initiative to sensitize the individual. Okay?
That's a major error. So that is why up till now they have not been able to have the buy-in of the people.
Okay.
So they need to do more.
Beautiful. Now, in your opinion, do you think these reforms are necessary to economic growth at this time?
Yes.
Or at the ill time? Or will there be even a better time to do this tax reform?
Wait.
When I say at this time, should I help you break down the subsidy removal?
No, I understand time and season. You see, the reforms are necessary.
Okay.
Yes, there is no way you will say the reforms are not necessary. You need to be objective.
Okay.
But the time or the timing is wrong. You see, there is a time for conception. There is a time of delivery.
Now you're talking as an economic expert.
So now the time is wrong. And let me tell you something. Time is key to success.
Beautiful.
For instance, if you have an earthquake, God forbid, and you are talking about election, nobody is going to use it's wrong timing. So why the reforms are necessary, the timing is absolutely wrong. For instance, the president has made what, on my own judgment, an economic error by one, unifying or what we call floating of the currency, at the same time removing subsidy. Those are two critical economic policies that anywhere in the world, if you do that simultaneously, you're going to be in where we are today, when about 25 million people have been moved to poverty debts. That is huge. And Nigeria still remains the capital of poverty in the world, despite not as populated as China, India, and a few other countries. So what the president would have done is to have ensured that the ripple effect of floating of the currency, or what I would ordinarily call devaluation, because they devalued the naira to almost 70%. There's nothing wrong about devaluation, but you would have done it in such, this is not the first time now, you would have done it with 20%, highest 22%, to have taken it to 68 to 70%, that is already a disaster. So let's see how we manage it. And the government should have, or the government anywhere have the ability to manage perception. They have the resources at their disposal. So they should deploy a lot of instruments to pacify people, to educate people why this is necessary.
Okay, for you out there, don't forget to like, share, and comment on this program, The Outlook, and we're talking about tax reform bills, its importance and impact in the economy. And my guest is Mr. Paul Alelumhe. He's an economic expert, and he has been doing justice to the program. So, sir, are Nigerians now inconsiderate to the president over his reform policies, or is it the president too brash in his decision?
I think most of the policies are too draconian. They are too harsh.
I heard the president saying in his media chat that he has to take tough decisions and he has no apology doing these tough decisions. Now, is this part of his reform for Nigerians? Now, because now I'm looking at this, is it that he's too brash, or Nigerians are themselves inconsiderate? From all you've spoken, what will you say?
You see, let me just give you a simple example. It's just like when you have children. Now that order your care, and they have, a problem, they are complaining. They say you need to take this decision. Why not let the people know? This is why. So, but like I said earlier, the decisions, no matter how necessary they are, the timing is wrong. There is no country anywhere in the world that float its currency or currency at the same time remove subsidy. Can I say this to you? There is nowhere in the world where there is no subsidy in energy. Because energy is a driver of the economy. For you to be able to leave your house to this place,
energy.
You enter transport, what you are being powered. Right? So, petrol, what you call the fuel here, the fuel source, is key to every economy. So the president would have, by way of empathy, look at it. But what really created the inflation you are saying? Do you know the percentage, the inflation rate? It's almost at 40. Forget what NBS is saying is 34. You and I who operate, who operate the market, we know that there's turbulence, the market is not stable. You could go to market tomorrow. How much was bag of rice?
Yes,
and that's it. So it's
price control.
We don't even want. He has said it, and I believe in him.
Okay,
I believe in
to that.
Yeah, that to be honest with you, in a capitalist system, you can't control prices.
Okay.
Except you are doing if you want to do, a socialist system, fine.
Let me use like a capitalist system.
Yeah, because the man is a capitalist.
They said Nigeria is a mixed economy.
It is generally. There's nowhere, of course, there's nowhere.
Now you are now putting a capitalist ideology to a mixed economy.
No, it is. Even when we say it's a capitalist system, there's no economy in the world that is not mixed. But you see, for academic purpose, you need to distinguish them. Okay. It is this modern era of markets, or what we call the monetary trade, that this mixed economic system was introduced. The traditional economic system, you just have 2 or 3 classifications. Okay. But you know why we now say mixed economy? Anywhere in the world, the economy is mixed. There's government intervention. Yes. Then there's individual controlling means of production. Okay. So it's everywhere the America was considered as capitalism is mixed for practice. But in theory, we simply say, yes, we only just say, okay, it's a capitalist system because it's driven by individual controlling the means of production. But in general application, it's mixed.
I want us to clear that part.
It is. So when the president said, I do not intervene or have a price control, is to teach more on the aspect of capitalism.
Okay.
However, government will continue to intervene in critical areas. Okay. Anywhere in the world. I'll give you an instance.
Okay.
They just remove VAT or tax on agricultural equipment, or this CNG that if you are importing the kit, government do not need to collect revenue from you. You know why?
Why?
So as to encourage people to bring those things and to get it at cheaper rate, even food items. Okay. So that is an area of intervention from government. So that is why it's government. Government must intervene in critical areas that is necessary.
Okay. Do you think the tax reforms will work in Nigeria generally? This tax reform, Tinubu's tax reform, because that's how it is now. Will it work in today's Nigeria?
It will not work because when you have 20 million people and you have 6 million employed, who are you going to tax? So it will not work. Let me give you an instance. What South Africa generates from tax is higher than what Nigeria generates. You know why?
Right.
South Africa seems to be more productive. You have more employment in South Africa than in Nigeria, despite our huge population gap. So if you have tax reform, it's just like when we clamor for minimum wage. If you increase minimum wage to 250,000, how many people are employed? It might not be beneficial, whether it's going to work fine, but it will not deliver on the economic growth and development. Then in some state like Kano now, you have over 25 million people, and you have employment or the this in about 6 million people. So, how will you generate? It would have been better if you have up to 50%. I mean 15 million people working in Kano pay smaller tax than 6 million people working pay huge tax. So what the government would have done, would have worked on unemployment or try to generate jobs by stimulating the private sector, making the environment conducive. They would have put a lot of investment on power. God, power drives economy. That you and I can open a barber shop, far in Maraba. I don't need to come to city center. I'll generate my income, I'll pay tax. But the man who's been able to generate income when a liter of fuel or petrol is 1,000 naira. So that, by nature, has reduced his profits. So the government ought to ensure that there's employment, then you can widen your tax nets. So employment reform or a way of the job generation mechanism would have put in place before we talk of taxes.
I like the place you said economic generation
jobs
before the tax. So you do not agree that this tax reform will work in Nigeria?
The tax reform will not produce expected outcome.
Okay.
Yeah, for instance, what is the essence of reform? You see, there is always cost benefit analysis. Emphasis should be on outcome. Okay, in next few years, will Nigeria economy be better off? Few years back,
okay,
if you earn 150,000, you have earned $1,000.
yes.
Today, if you earn 250,000,
You're not earning $1,000.
good. So you now know that you are not better off. There's no better way to measure economy. It's simple. Leave all the grammar of economic indicators. They are there. Do you easily assess healthcare today than what it was?
Okay.
How much was BP drugs? How much is it now? How many people can? There are a lot of statistics we have.
Lastly, what would be your advice to Nigerians on tax reform bill?
Yeah, but I will first advise the government that because the government, you see why government is key. They are major determinants of policies and execution. Where are the receiving end? What I will advise the government is that the government should show empathy on the people, because you are there because of the people. If I am your protector and I allow certain things to happen to you, I have failed in my responsibility. But again, I will ask people to be, forbearance, to have patience with the government, to keep on the advocacy, because there is a role for the people. You see, the essence of the people, number one, is to hold government accountable anywhere in the society. So that is why when I hear dissenting voice, the people say, oh, you are critical about government. That is my role as an individual, is to hold you responsible. It's just like the way your employer asks you, they have given you schedule. That is where you have been evaluated. So the people must, as a matter of urgency, hold the government accountable.
The people must hold the government accountable. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul Alelumhe, for sharing your insights. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This has been an enlightening discussion, and thank you to our viewers and listeners. And thank you for staying tuned. And make your comments in our comment section. And your comments also help in shaping the role of our economy. Thank you to my production team. Production team has been Rotimi Martins, Jessica Osagi, and Elizabeth Ereke. And my supervisor has been Ehi Ohiani. My name is Nasir Yunusa. Until next time, goodbye.